that?
Yes, so we will have handheld mic.
Okay, handheld mic is good enough. So, good morning everyone, and I'm extremely grateful to NEGD for giving us this opportunity to make this presentation. And just to start with, in the session before, there was a reference to one of the speakers how this name matching was not happening because of the presence of two dots, right? Now, we have tackled this issue. So we have something called a fuzzy logic and intelligent matching. And depending on the comfort level of banks, so we have a matching of say 85%. And so this takes care of such kind of minor mismatches. In fact, depending on the comfort level of banks, some banks say that we want 100% matching. So then we can go for 100% also. But gradually most banks have moved around to around 85% matching, which takes care of these minor discrepancies. And so execution failure does not happen for this, and the customer experience gets enhanced. As we saw it happen in a case of a dignitary also, that these minor variations come in the name. So I thought I'll just start with that observation from morning's session. Somebody will just need to help me with this.
So the boys are coming.
So just to start with an introduction about us, and you see the name is quite similar to NEGD. So we are National E-Governance Services Limited, and we are India's first information utility and is regulated by the provisions of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and our regulator is IBBI. And we have shareholding across major banks, insurance companies, and we also have a depository CDSL as one of our shareholders. And I'd just like to stress on the fact that carrying the national word in our name, we are committed to national priorities. For example, taking care of the concerns of MSMEs, driving financial inclusion schemes, and all our services are easily accessible as also affordable in nature. So we have the word national in our name, and accordingly we do ensure that national priorities are given due importance. A little bit about our genesis. So we are part of the IBC ecosystem. IBC is of course the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and it's often commonly thought that the IBC is about recovery of bad loans. But as I state in the title of this slide, it is a paradigm, it's a new paradigm for resolution and revival. And just for information for all in this very compact group, that the objective of IBC is also promoting entrepreneurship as also availability of credit. If you want to know how the IBC does that, maybe I will address this at the end of the session. But at this point in time, I would suffice to state that on the right hand side, as you can see, the three distinct features of our company, National E-Governance Services Limited, is that our services are time bound. Time is of the essence in IBC proceedings, and so it is with us. We are digital in nature, we'll see that later. And finally, governance. And incidentally, the word governance appears in our name as well as that of NEGD, and so that's why it's very important for us. In the subsequent slide, I'll talk about the unique features of the information utility, but this itself is the most standout feature of the information utility that it facilitates a two-way communication. So whenever a financial creditor submits information to the information utility, the system automatically generates an email to the other parties. We call it concerned parties to the debt. The concerned parties could be the debtor, it could be the obligant, it could be the guarantor. So the debtor and guarantor are immediately aware that his creditor has reported an information and he is given an opportunity to give his views. If he agrees with the information submitted by the creditor and if he wants to dispute, he is also given an opportunity to give his views regarding the dispute, as also the nature of the dispute, the reason why he does not agree with the information submitted by the financial creditor, which could be a bank, it could also be an operational creditor. I mean, a person who is supplying goods or services on credit. So this repository facilitates a two-way communication between the submitter of the information and the concerned parties to the debt. The submitter of information is usually the creditor, but it could also be a debtor. The uniqueness about the IU is that it facilitates all parties to a transaction to avail the services of the information utility. In the next slide, I will cover what are the other unique features of the information utility. Sorry. Yeah. So as I stated that information utility is a very unique institution, is a institution of, I would say it's a national infrastructure institution. And if you're curious to know that how is it unique, how is it different, how it stands apart, so these are some of the features. One, that identification of a submitter has to be done before submission of any information. It is digital and paperless. I think in the session before this also there was reference to that how digital and paperless also makes it sustainable. It promotes sustainability. A digital signature is required to submit information, and since it's submitted through a digital signature, the information which is submitted to the information utility is of evidentiary value. The second line, the first box, legally enforceable in digital form. And this is an extremely important element because very commonly when you talk of digital, we also sometimes, thinking of scanned documents. A scanned documents is actually not admissible in a court of law. In fact, there was a recent judgment in NCLT just 2 days back in which the respondent contested the submission of photocopied documents, and ultimately the court said that it had to be notarized, only then it could be acceptable. But in the case of documents which are executed on the NeSL platform, it can be accepted as it is in digital form, no separate notarization, certification, signature on top of the document is required. So that's why I say here, legally enforceable in digital form. And the second box on the second row, that it provides a opportunity, a provision. The information utility has a provision for non-regulated entities to submit information. Regulated entity refers to usually an entity which is regulated by a financial services regulator, like a bank, an NBFC, an asset reconstruction company. A non-regulated entity could be any other company which is registered under the Companies Act. It could be a proprietorship firm, it could be a proprietorship firm, it could be individual. So all these are non-regulated entities. So information utility is one repository which gives a forum for non-regulated entities to also submit information to see that their voice is also heard. And finally, the last box on the second row, which is access to authorized persons only. So information literacy is not a public credit repository. It's not available to all. It is available to authorized persons as provided in law. But the beauty of it is that the owner of the data can also provide access to the persons whom he considers it's required. I'll give you an example. If you want to avail a loan from a bank, then you can tell the information utility, look, I want to avail a loan from ABC Bank. Please provide access of my data in the information utility to ABC Bank. So although the access is to authorized persons, but authorized persons can in turn delegate this power to anyone else whom he feels should have access to that information. Now in the next slide, I'll talk about the bouquet of services which we provide. And as stated earlier, it is digital solutions. The first column is that of the data services. Incidentally, the law provides that information utility should accept financial information, and financial information includes both data and documents. So in the first column, I'm talking about the data services of the information utility, and information utility serves as a repository of financial information, and it's submitted by, as I had stated before, financial and operational creditors. And as I stated earlier, it has a provision for all the concerned parties to the debt to verify and authenticate information. So that's one important feature. The second important feature is that it provides alerts to users of a default by debtors. The default may not be to them, it may be default to other creditors. But as an advance alert, such alerts, such advices are provided as a proactive measure to also as a part of proactive risk management. And finally, the information utility also issues something called a record of default. So this helps in establishing default when a creditor intends to start insolvency proceedings against a debtor. So this record of default is a conclusive way to establish default in case a creditor intends to start insolvency proceedings against a debtor. Now I'll come to the second column. So that's about digital document execution services. So it is a whole new way of contract execution. It's a digital, it's paperless, and leads to reduction in costs and also saving time. How do you save costs? It's simply because people do not need to travel. Costs of storage are reduced. It is saves time because it doesn't require multiple signatures. It doesn't require the executants of a document to travel to the place of execution. Execution of document can be done in digital form seamlessly from any place. And of course, this uses India's superior DPI, which gives every person with a valid Aadhaar to power to digitally sign a document. And very interestingly, I was sharing with my my partner, my friend, my business relationship, that yesterday we launched face authentication, and this is possibly one of the few instances where face authentication is actually being used to execute a transaction. We use face auth for many purposes. For example, accessing if you're an iPhone, you could use face auth to access your iPhone. But today we are using face auth linked to Aadhaar to actually execute a transaction. So we've launched this into production, and I'm sure one of our esteemed relationships here will be the first to launch. And of course, this mode of document execution is end-to-end paperless contracting. More than 30 plus lending institutions reduce TAT from days to a few minutes. And Finally, we also have this electronic bank guarantee, which is part of digital document execution, but we have shown it separately for two reasons. One, a bank guarantee, as many of you, some of you are bankers, I know, are aware that a bank guarantee is executed only by a bank. A digital document execution can be executed by, any of us here who's taking a loan from a bank, but a bank guarantee is executed only by a bank. And a bank guarantee was one of the few instruments which had largely remained physical despite the fact there was rapid digitization in the rest of the banking space. So that's why I've shown this separately. And I'll just give you some statistics in respect of each of these products. In the first product, data submission, there are 4 crore plus records, and incidentally, there are more than 2.5 crore debtors. Not sure how many users are there on DigiLocker, but on our platform, we have 2.5 lakh debtors whose information is submitted. And we have more than 1,000 financial institutions who are submitting information to the information utility. And the remaining data about digital document execution is already there. You can see at the bottom of the screen. So these numbers are also quite substantial. And finally, all these 3 services, the data sits in a central repository as a company which carries national in its name. There's a lot of responsibility on us. Our data center is almost similar to a bank. We have a DR center, and we go to great lengths to ensure that the information which stays with us is secure and safe. So I had stated in the first part of the slide about identification of the user takes place before any kind of service happens, which we call this entity registration. And it could be individual registration also, but right now we're talking of entity registration because that is the first aspect we are talking to NEGD about. And this is how the process is. PAN is verified, the KYC documents are done, like board resolution. The entity registration happens in 2 parts. One, the entity needs to be identified, and then also the user needs to be identified. The user, the authorized user who is to represent that entity. And subsequently the validation is done, and after due validation of both the entity and the user, the authorized user who will represent that entity, then the activation is done. And this is one area which we are going to work with NEGD to see how we can make this process further seamless. Now, this is the area of collaboration we are working about. I had earlier spoken about bank guarantees and how this process had largely remained physical despite the rapid digitization in all banking services. So now we have launched this e-bank guarantee. So 37 banks are using it, more than 57,000 EBGs issued. It is secure, tamper-proof repository, and complete EBG lifecycle management can be done. What is lifecycle management? A BG has many stages. There are bankers here who would be aware, but for the benefit of others, a BG has many stages. For example, it could be a renewal, it could be amendment, it could be a cancellation, it could be an invocation, it could be partial invocation. So this repository facilitates all such events in a fully digital form. And as part of this EntityLocker, some details are here. 68,000 entities registered, 46 plus user authorities, pan-India adoption, trusted document platform. As part of this integration, we are proposing that our EBGs would also be available through the EntityLocker platform, and the benefits of the same, of course, I will address it in the subsequent slides. So this is how it proposed, and as of now, our e-bank guarantee can be accessed to 3 modes. Of course, you can come on to the platform at the NeSL platform and access the EBGs. And we also have something called NEAS, which is NeSL Enterprise Access System, in which many large corporates have integrated to NeSL through secure APIs in which they can access the EBGs through their own IT systems, so that is NES. Then we also have various government portals like JEPNIC. We also have the Karnataka procurement portal. So these portals have integrated with NESL, and through this integration, these portals are able to view the EBG directly. They are able to pull the EBG directly into the systems, and the beneficiaries can access the EBGs in the procurement portal. So that is the three modes of access we already have. We have one of the largest users of EBGs, our platform, who is represented here. And finally, we also have, I think the screen has gone off. Never mind, I think I'll continue speaking. I hope I'm able to bring it across. Yeah. So now we also propose to have a fourth way of access of EBG, which is through our EntityLocker. I think it will be a great benefit to the ecosystem in the sense that it is through one portal you can access all your documents, and of the detailed, we'll see more details in the subsequent slides. Sorry. Yeah. So this is broadly how the system will flow, and effectively it means that first a person, when he's able to log in through EntityLocker, and he will raise a request to for the BG, and EntityLocker he will the PAN will be validated, and then it moves to NESL. NESL will validate the request. It will check whether the EBG is there, and we'll check for the consent. As a regulated entity, this consent process is extremely important for us. So after the consent is confirmed, then the EBG will be shared with the with EntityLocker, and EntityLocker in turn will share it with the user. And this is how the screen will look like. This is EntityLocker screen, and subsequently, if you can see, there's a portal for EBG services, and all our working is based on PAN. So a PAN would need to be provided here, and as of now, it is based on the specific EBG reference number. But at a later date, I am sure we can work out a system where if you only provide the PAN, the details of all BGs should be available. But as of now, it works on the BG reference number, and the event type, as I said, that the BG has many events like the issuance, the renewal, and once these details are provided, and then the screen will show the EBG or the amendment as is requested for, and the user can in turn download the same. So this is how it is a kind of meeting of the two e-governance systems, National E-Governance Services Limited, National E-Governance Division, and it is based on a secure basis, which is the PAN verification, because our system also works on PAN, and once the PAN is verified and the consents are established, so then the BG is made available through the EntityLocker. Yeah, so this is the brief of the collaboration, and as I stated before, the advantage is that there will be a single platform for all financial documents. I think the list of documents we had seen earlier about the number of documents available on EntityLocker, so EBG would be one more document would be available. There will be seamless ecosystem integration, real-time verification. Verification of EBG is extremely important to ensure that the document is correct. There will be ease of doing business, and of course it provides 24/7 access to whom? To banks, to beneficiaries, to applicants, and in case it's a government department, through the government portals. Sorry, I think some issues in this. Now, this is one area where we are in advanced discussions about making EBGs accessible through the EntityLocker, but there are many other areas where the possibilities are there, and this is one forum where we can discuss such possibilities, and one of them is our document execution. So today the document execution happens when NeSL sends a link, but sometimes users feel a bit of discomfort in getting links on emails. So one possibility is that we could make this available through the DigiLocker. DigiLocker, we have so many users, and so the link could be made available on DigiLocker, and then the documents to be executed through can be pulled through the DigiLocker portal, and then authentication can happen, and the document of course gets stored in DigiLocker. So this is one area of possible collaboration going forward. And there's another area is about data authentication. As we discussed in the first few slides, that any information, the information utility has to be authenticated, or rather there's a provision for authentication, there's a provision for the concerned parties to the debt to accept or dispute the information. So as of now, we have more than 1,000 submitters of information. There are more than 4 crore debt records. And the provision as on date is that the borrowers have to, the debtors or the bank or the co-applicants have to log on to the portal and then authenticate this information. So if this authentication mode is also available on the DigiLocker platform, so it could also be a way, a customer user-friendly way of doing the authentication process, and which could also serve the legal process, because the DigiLocker also has a very secure way of providing access. So these are the 2 areas which we are working on. And there's one area also which is, I think there's a lot of, just let me know about the time. I hope I'm okay with time.
So you're over 5 minutes.
Over 5 minutes, okay. I'm sorry. So I'll just quickly run through this. And I think the audience has been a very, very avid listener. Thank you so much. So I didn't realize it was over. No impatience. Thank you. So EntityLocker's PAN validation could also be very useful for us, because as I said, as a regulated entity for us, like a bank, entity onboarding is extremely important. It's a one-time process, but right now we feel it is rigorous, but some feel that it might be a bit time-consuming. So this PAN validation, which can be done through EntityLocker, could really help the process. So that's about it. Let's see if we have something. One final point, and I think this was addressed in the morning, that how digital can and paperless could also make it environment friendly. And till date, this 1.91 crore documents which we have done have led to saving of 51,000 trees. And one concluding point which I would like to make, I see many youngsters here, and we have some of my age also. So what I would say is that we all have a duty to leave to our young generation the earth as we got it from our forefathers. So let us do this little bit to help the young people here, that we should leave the earth at least the way we got it from our forefathers. And one way we could do it by adopting digital and saving trees. Thank you very much for patiently listening.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, the floor is open for 2-3 questions.
So since you are connected with PAN-based thing, etc., and nowadays you know the number of cases in the courts are more than 5.25 crores. The number of cases in the country is 5.25 crore, and if the Modi government wants that economy to touch 5 trillion and then 10 trillion, the entrepreneurship and business smoothing is very important. So a big question is of default in payments by the debtors. Why not you take care of that, or you take that initiative? In case one check is bounced, then his all accounts should be blocked till the time that is not being paid. And if you do that, I think the lot of money the government can save, and it will be smoothen the business strategy, and it will motivate the entrepreneur as well. And this is the need of the hour, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have touched upon a very, very raw chord, and I'll address this in many ways.
My name is Abhay Chandalia,
Okay.
and I am founder of a Share Samadhan Limited. We are a listed company.
Yeah,
We
fantastic.
get lot many cases on this. So that
So,
is why.
Yeah. So let me address it in many ways. First part is, suppose, for default, you don't even have to go to court. That's the first part. Suppose you don't even have to go to court. And, don't take it for what I'm saying right now on this podium. There's a digital newsletter I think we'll be happy to share. Every month, we find that many defaults get cured. In fact, why you get cured is that we give advance warning. As a banker, let me tell you, there's a possibility of defaults getting cured when defaults are addressed at an early stage. Because see, when defaults persist, there's depletion of the enterprise value. Now, suppose you are employed with a company. If your company defaults, would you like to get employed there? You'd like to leave. So, when a default persists, the company consistently loses enterprise value. It loses customers. Would you like to take supplies from a customer who the company is defaulting? So that's why it's important to address default at an early stage. When you default at an early stage, there's a possibility of getting cured. And please let me finish. That I know you are bursting to this thing to respond. And we're happy to engage a debate. Maybe we can debate. But for this forum, paucities of time, please be. So that's the first part, addressing default at an early stage. We are doing it. And some data I'll give you in this newsletter we can share with you. Every month for the last 12 months, we see defaults happening. I'm not concerned because these are early stage defaults. And the fact that the early stage defaults also is borne out of the fact that they also get cured. And some defaults also we see the accounts getting closure. Because some may point out that, look, defaults getting cured meant kahin se he's bought some money and somehow cured the default. But some accounts get closed. So that's the first part I would like to address it. We have a problem in the courts. Try to address in a different way. Don't take resort to the courts. Address the default early. See that it doesn't go to the court. That's the first way. Second way. Now you see, I spoke of this session.
Little bit, actually, my question is different actually.
Yeah.
I am looking at a portal of the defaulters. Before I supply to that defaulter, I should be very cautious. I should not do the business with that person. So there is default portals.
Yeah, so that is already there. Don't worry. So I'll respond to this particular question also. So if you are supplying to a particular, say, customer, come to our portal, you will get his credit history. And I said, our portal is there for everyone. The only question is, if you are a first-time supplier, you need to take the consent of the customer. If you take the consent of the customer, you can access his credit history and find out for yourself. But if you are a regular supplier, you can always access his credit history. That's the first part. Second part, now courts, we all blame the courts, but look at the challenge which courts face. I refer to this case where, the courts get photocopied documents. Now today, if the courts were to get this genuine documents...
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Excuse me. Due
Okay,
to
no
the paucity of time, we'll not take any more questions. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
one more question, I can address it if just like to hear what is the sense of the audience.
All right, sure. If there is any more questions,
Raise them high.
Sir, I come from a non-regulated technology service provider. Just like to hear your thoughts on how a technology service provider like myself can integrate the platform with NeSL. I'm already integrated with EntityLocker, DigiLocker, and so on, and other.
So let me just be brief. We already have certain authorized representatives, and just watch our website for 15 days. Within 15 days, we'll come out with detailed instructions. That's my promise.
Absolutely.
You'll get your answer. 50. Yeah. You can contact my team. You can contact me also. I'm there on LinkedIn. You can have more than 10,000 flowers on LinkedIn. Watch this space. 15 days you'll get instructions on that. We have that on mind, and we want to make this public. We want more users, more technology representatives who have the capabilities to integrate with the platform. So we will come out with detailed guidelines on what is required of you if you want to integrate with the platform. If you comply with that, you're welcome. If you cannot, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, sir. May I have a round of applause, please? May I now invite Shri Nankumaram, President and CEO NEGD, to kindly present a token of appreciation to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Chaudhuri, as a gesture of gratitude for his valuable insights. Sir, please.